for that. Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, a special episode of Two Tutors Talking. Yes, I am your host, Audrey Codner, and I am so happy to be here with you guys. Had a lovely episode this morning. One of my neighbors, older neighbors, decided to, I don't know, prune his pine tree, and he fell off his ladder. So, yeah, that was excitement that I was not ready for. But his son came, everything's good. So if you haven't learned of anything today, life is precious. So do what you want to do today. So speaking of which, and also we have our month of Dyslexia Awareness Month, and I was able to bring in my friend Miss Lavanda Roundtree, and she's going to share with us, a little bit of like what's going on with dyslexia, as well as sharing a little bit what she's doing with her students, because she also tutors as well, and her specialty is dealing with people with dyslexia. So let me introduce you to Miss Lavanda Roundtree. Hello, Lavanda.
Hello there, Audrey. How are you?
I am great. Life, I'm telling you, life is great. You
Yeah,
gotta
yes,
treasure it.
it is. It is.
So, if anything, thank you. One, you made it apparent to me that, Audrey, this is Dyslexia
Yes.
Awareness Month. And I'm like, for me, I can't keep up with the months. I can't keep up with this is latte day. This is sibling day. Like, I can't. But this is of great importance because it helps
Mhm.
and it really addresses some of the things that's happening in our classrooms.
Yes.
So, before we dive deep, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Whew, okay, well, I guess I can just talk to you a little bit about my journey into this, particular realm. I did tutor. I tutored for a long time, and I bring it up because when people say, what is an academic therapist? How is that different from what anyone else does? But I did, and I still do tutoring, but I did some tutoring. And I was tutoring everything. Like, you just, oh, I'm going to help all people. I'm going to help everybody do everything. So I was tutoring social studies, Spanish, math, reading. I was doing some of everything. And then I just realized, okay, I really needed to, kind of hone down and specialize. And so I decided to have my focus in reading. And I had some students who were rather difficult, even when I was, in my classroom, there were kids, you're teaching reading and everything you're doing it just wasn't working. And so, I kind of started my journey, taking a free class, and what is called known as Orton Gillingham. I started there, but then, like I said, I started to focus more on that, and I became an academic therapist. So the difference, an academic therapist, gets training, some serious training. The practicum is forever. I had a 750 hours supervised practicum, and you're training specifically to, learn disabilities. So there's a way of teaching, a specific way of teaching, and so that's really the difference. And so I started that journey. Woo, I've been doing this now. It's been for about 15 years. And
Oh,
so I love what I do. And I gotta tell people, I feel like I can teach a rock how to read. So yeah.
there you go. Now that's skill, y'all. That's skill. Uh, so if you are here, there's a couple people that's here, but if you are here and you're viewing this live, hit hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hit hashtag replay. And also, I'm going to add this little spice into it. Go ahead and put a comment in. If you want to know a little bit more, you always had a question about dyslexia or about tutoring, and you always wanted to ask, put it in the comment because it helps with the algorithm.
Oh
Okay,
yes.
see, you thought I was going to sneak it in there. I put it in there for you. So, if anything, share like a small sample. Like, what are you noticing in like your sessions or just as a life of an academic, therapist? Share a little bit with that with us,
Okay.
please.
So yeah, so for every student, of course, it's different because dyslexia is on the spectrum, much like autism is. So you have some mild, moderate to quite severe. And so for me in my practice, I am noticing most of the students that come to me are they're it's kind of like they really are far behind, but their parents have finally decided, okay, yeah, we need to do something about this. And most of the time they're middle school, high school students who are reading on second to third grade levels. Okay. Um, they have noticed that there's been an issue for years, but they just haven't been sure about what to do about it, you know. And so does the school notice it? Yes, but honestly, and I'm a retired teacher there, so you just kind of know what's going on in the classroom. And so if you're not sure about what to do as a teacher, you just kind of, oh, he'll grow out of it, she'll grow out of it. Oh, the rest of the kids are
Mm,
at this, they're also struggling. Well, and that's nice and stuff, but you don't want, and I appreciate that the kid's struggling. I mean, I don't appreciate it, but I don't want my kid to struggle. And so I've seen a lot of that, parents not knowing what to do. During my actual sessions with students, I'm noticing, as they come in, they're very stressed. It
mm,
is difficult. Students who are learning these sounds for the first time or finally getting it together, it's hard. It's very
mm,
emotional. Sometimes I see tears in my sessions. And it's not that, you're being a workhorse and driving them. It's just the thinking and trying to get these sounds straight in your mind, trying to get them out. So the kids are really working really hard um, to, um, to learn these sounds and learn how to read. The other thing I do see, especially at the end,
mm,
is some joy. Like,
mm,
ooh, I did this. So, um, gosh, there's so many things I do see, but I can say for sure, when they come, it's just, it's really a big struggle. So my advice would be to not wait. As a parent, if you know that there's something wrong and you're hearing things like, oh, he's fine, she's fine, it's going to be okay, and there's something wrong. I mean, that's your child. On the inside there's something is going on with your child. And so I would say get help as quickly as you can. And even if you just have to ask a question, to whoever it is, just ask a question, get a session with someone to see if your child is going to need more. But that's what I see. I do see a lot of struggle. I see tears. Um, I see kids trying to understand, but at the end of each session, I'm just going to say, just honest, that there's some joy and that there's hope. And so that's what I'm seeing in my
mm.
sessions.
And that's like something that I have like another friend that deals a lot with the autistic
Mm-hmm.
kids
Mm-hmm.
and just even like how they read and how they process. And she
Yeah.
actually did like a little webinar. I shouldn't call it a little webinar because it was very mind blowing
Wow.
because she took how kids with autism see the sentence
Mm.
and try to read it. And then what she had was her parents say, okay, this is what your child sees. Here's a normal sentence, right?
Yes.
Regular
Yes.
sentence. And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But this is what your child sees.
Yes.
Try to decode it.
Yeah.
And it just seems like that was such an eye-opening thing because if you were like my age or maybe slightly older, just a parent, some of the things are not presented right away because
Right.
you might see it as the child just, oh, you're just being lazy. Oh, you're not paying attention.
Exactly.
Like what are some of those things that, because we always want to say parents go and get help, but they don't
Right.
know, like,
Very good
what are some
question.
things?
Yeah, excellent question. So, and it's a lot of times when people hear about dyslexia, they think, oh, we're just flipping B's and D's. Most kids with dyslexia do not do that. And so while that may be an indicator, a possible indicator, that's not, it's what it is. It's not, oh, your eyes are flipping letters. So, and so a lot of times, so you may see some of that. You may see, kids who are, you know, doing reversals, right? Reversals. It could be of numbers or letters. These are kids. Sometimes they're struggling with just basic, what we call basic sight words, the, of, there could be that there is struggles with spelling. Spelling is phonetic. And so, I mean, it's all based on sound, excuse me. So if they're already struggling with sound, it's going to show up in their spelling. Um, it could be simple as mixing up, your directionalities, your left from your right. There is
Mhm.
that. Um, it could be something simple as your house. I hate doing homework. Or if they're doing homework, it's taking them hours and hours to do homework. They could be saying things like, yeah, I don't want to go to school, for different reasons. I mean, of course, there's all kinds of reasons to not go to school. So let me say
Right.
that, but, you want to check that, especially, with the academics. If someone is saying, well, he just seems so lazy. Listen, your child is not lazy. Your child is not stupid. Okay. And so a lot of times parents in their frustration can kind of say some things to students, to their children, because of course you want your children to do well, right? And you lose patience. So you really do need to find out what's going on. And even, when they're always asking, oh, what's that word? What's that word? They can be struggling with comprehension, or when they read, the reading is very choppy. You could be reading, oh, the cat, the blue cat went under the, I don't know, went under the tree. Okay, not a great sentence, but the blue cat is, it could be that, So
Mhm.
I guess those are some of the things that really kind of look out for. Especially, with that homework thing. Or I hate reading, I hate books, I hate that class. Um,
Mhm.
that's kind of, what, just some indicators for students, and that could be may have dyslexia, or just even just a serious reading problem. It may not be
Mhm.
dyslexia, but there are other reading problems that can occur. That you know.
So, like, even when we're in the era of technology now,
Hmm.
so not too many people are sitting and reading with their children.
Right.
So it's kinda like, how can because I know I have friends that have kids, because I don't have any, I can't do it.
Right.
Uh, I mean, maybe physically, but emotionally, I just can't do it.
Okay.
But when it comes to, like, a lot of people are watching videos, they may have like a Roku and they have a
Hmm.
lot of those free videos that come on. But even when those videos are on, once in a while, I know because you probably heard Elsa's Frozen like 28 times in like the last 2 hours. I get it. But one of those times should parents, like, be with their kid while they're listening to that, and then just doing, like, little tidbits like, "Oh, what was that word? D. Okay, you're listening to the song," because they're enjoying the song, they're enjoying the
Hmm.
music, but then when it comes to that whole comprehension, like, it's almost like there's a disconnect, and we
Yeah.
catch it in middle school, but
Yeah.
how can we catch that early on, like, even in pre-K?
Yeah, so here's the thing that's so great, right? About that. So there are most states in the country, I'll just say most, not all. I guess, well, maybe we're about, I should say, maybe we're about 60 or 70% at this point.
Mhm,
Um, but there is uh there is a move, especially to catch reading, deficits very early in school systems. And well, I'm saying just in school, but at a very early age. So there's a lot of legislation now that is requiring, I know, like in the state of Maryland, for example, which is, I was on the dyslexia task force for the state of Maryland when when Larry Hogan was the governor. And so one of the things that we wanted to have happen was that every school system has to do some type of screener for all students to catch this, right when they entered kindergarten. So there's the thing we call a universal screener. They can look at some of the indicators to say, hey, this kid is, showing this. they're, showing some, whatever it is, some all these, symptoms, or, one or two, and the teachers, the schools are required to intervene, at that point, because if you can catch it, at a younger age, even if a student is dyslexic, it's not as pronounced. It doesn't, the longer you wait, the harder it gets, right? And so here we can catch some things, we can do some things, we can provide some instruction now so that it's not, it doesn't seem as exacerbated, later on. And so there's a lot of legislation for, younger students, and it's really happening. So it's really catching, all over the country. There are a couple of groups, parent groups, Decoding Dyslexia, for if parents need some support. You can, get in contact with your Decoding Dyslexia group on Facebook. There's a lot of information that they can provide for you. But they have been quite instrumental in getting some of this legislation passed as well. It's just that, for me, I'm working with students, and I'm not saying those are the only students I work with, but I'm finding that more of my students are older. And the fact of the matter is that it's great that this legislation is happening, because this is what we wanted to see happen. We wanted to see, these students, have this support in school at an early age. So that is great. But there's some students who are left. There are students who are left who don't get to take advantage of, the legislation that has been passed for kindergarten through second. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so it will catch up, but we've got these babies who are still struggling, as middle schoolers, as high schoolers, as college students.
Yes.
And even adults. Like I have had adults in my practice and still do that. So um, I would say, and I think more so toward your question to talk about what, a parent, should do. You were giving an example of um, things to do, with, your student. If you're going to be,
Mhm.
say for instance, watching TV and you're hearing a song
Right.
or whatever, yeah, talk about that melody. Oh, or talk about Frozen. Let's pick a few words from it. Oh, I heard Frozen. Let me see Frozen. Just something simple as that. Oh, how many claps? Because that, what that does is talk about how many syllables are in a word. And some
Mm.
students with dyslexia, they're really struggling like with phonemic awareness, right? And so things is, okay, how many syllables in a word? Like, for instance, if I say watermelon, I mean, some people do this. They can do watermelon. That's four, right? Some people are doing this watermelon, eight, and so
Right.
um, and so that's just the gist of it. So you have some kids who are struggling with that. Or, people, they find it maybe difficult, with the rhyming thing, so songs
Mm.
are good for rhyming, or even those things we did as kids, patty cake, baker's man, bake me a cake as fast as you can. So doing things like that are really helpful with your students. And like you said, just talk to them.
Right.
Them, when you're, that I think it was it PBS? Well, there was this commercial where this woman was in the store with with her child, and she was doing all these things. Green, she's doing all these things and she's being really demonstrative. And it looked a little crazy, but these are the things you need to do with your students, or I keep saying students, with your children.
Mhm.
When you go to the grocery store, talk to them, talk about, what you're buying, talk about the cost, and speak to them in full sentences. Use your words, don't,
Mhm.
do what I consider, baby words.
Baby talk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To them in, in sentences, like, let's do this. So yeah, that's, you can sit and watch Frozen, but Frozen can be educational. You can talk about the scenery in Frozen. I mean, anything, what is that? This is a frozen lake. Oh, this is a meadow. This is a whatever. I haven't seen Frozen, so I don't know if there's a meadow. So, but anyway, these
Something
are,
on there.
yeah. So everything can become, a point of, I guess, it can become an academic pursuit or whatever, but
True.
especially in this area of reading, it's, there's just so much to be done. I have plenty of other tips.
Right. And
um,
here's the thing, that because we wanna give as
yeah,
much But I also wanna emphasize, if I may put tap onto my thing, this is also important for math because you're probably like, "Audrey, like, you're a math tutor." Like,
Yeah.
no, because our kids struggle,
Yeah.
including myself when I was growing up,
Mhm.
struggle with word problems
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sometimes these assessments, they don't really take, backgrounds into consideration.
Right.
The main thing I remember when I was a teacher and I was teaching geometry, and they were talking about the guy wire. Like, oh,
Mm.
and then it was just a word problem about guy wires, and the kids were like, "What is a guy wire?" Or if
Exactly.
you have kids that live in
Exactly.
apartments, they're talking about, "Oh, Joni want to put an attic on the roof," and they're like, "What's an attic?" Like,
Right.
I actually had high school students say these
Mhm.
things to me because
Mhm.
they're not used to that type of atmosphere.
Right.
So there's a lot of verbiage, there's a lot of
Yes.
terminology
Yes.
in order to get the answers that
Yes.
they need to have.
Yeah.
So this is something that is vital.
Yeah.
Like, this is part of that foundational piece other than 1 plus 1 equals 2.
Absolutely. And Audrey, I mean, that's also a great question. You're bringing up these awesome questions. Vocabulary, yeah, it's a big deal. And so, and especially when you're in school, basically the thing is that a lot of times there's some groups of us who have to operate in two worlds, right? And that's just being honest. We have to operate in two worlds. It's just what it is, you
Mhm.
know. And
Yep.
so, um, you when you talk about the vocabulary, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, like we're still using that the example of frozen. Okay, well, what other words can we use? That come around, frozen, frigid, things like that. All right, like really cold. We could talk about glaciers. We can talk about icebergs, ice caps. These are all so something like that. Oh man, that is tremendous, especially when we're talking about, older kids and their vocabulary. You don't want to wait till middle school. Like, let's do this, second and third
Right.
grade. What are some other words we can use, to express our emotions more than just mad, sad, and glad and happy? Let's expand that, and what I find for students who are struggling with word problems, like you say, it is all about that vocabulary. So, like for instance, let's say, I'm just trying to think. It's kind of, there are certain words, like for instance, multiplication. Let's just say that, we
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
times, okay,
Mhm.
three times this or whatever. But also
Mhm.
in some situations, the word of means to multiply, right?
Yes.
So kids need to know that. So there's all these, there's just all this otherness, with
Mhm.
words, other meanings with the words. But also, too, like you said, is that vocabulary. And a lot of times people have to understand that, well, like you said, there are kids who don't have, certain experiences. But I believe that they don't have to have every experience, to kind of understand.
Sure.
It's all about what you do in your own home. Like
Mhm.
if you're doing nothing, and I'm not accusing anyone of doing that, but if you're not doing,
Okay.
you can't really expect, you're,
Excellence, advancement.
right, and you can't expect any depth, of knowledge
Mhm.
of your children. But if you're doing something and doing the best you can, and look, there's so many free things. Free stuff to do online. If you're, even as much as taking them to museums, I mean, all this stuff gives them an experience. They're going to hear something that they've never heard before. They're going to see something they've never seen before. And so
Mhm.
all they take all that in, and they can take that and apply it to every situation, to school, to life. They can take these things and apply it. So
Mhm.
there are, you go to museums for free. I mean, there's so much out here that people are doing for free that people can take advantage of. And I don't mean, and I'm just, putting that out there.
Gotcha.
A lot of things that you can do. I mean,
Mm.
I have given, and I'm going to get back into that, just things, you know, uh, some classes, for reading, just simple reading comprehension things with certain books. You can
Mhm.
do that. And yeah, I would just admonish everyone, any experience that you can give your children, any great experience you can give them, that they can just, not only help with, just their life skills, but it will help with their reading skills. It'll help with their math skills. It'll help with all of that. So
Right.
yeah, I hope I'm
And
not
it all
rambling. I hope
starts
I'm not rambling, but I'm just like,
No, 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 because it's true. It all starts early on.
Yeah,
And sometimes
absolutely.
people think that some of the things that kids are doing, like, especially if they try to read and they kinda mumble through a word, because I
Yes.
used to do that when I was a
Mhm.
kid, I'm not even gonna lie, very transparent, and I'd see a word that I didn't understand, I'm like, "And the" and it went
Mhm.
to the next thing, and you just quit to the next
Exactly.
word that you understood.
Yeah.
And those are the little things, like, sometimes you may not catch it, but when you do, you really should, maybe talk
Yeah.
to doctors because you guys go to doctor's appointments and just make these suggestions because sometimes teachers are not gonna catch everything.
Right.
Like, your,
Right.
daycare provider is not gonna catch everything.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
it's kinda like when we always say to parents, like, to go and seek out help, they may not
Yes.
know that they need help until someone in their middle school will actually do some kind of assessment because now they're looking at all these different states assessments and they're wondering why this child is scoring so low,
Right.
or they have a caring teacher that's like something's a little off,
Right.
and then they go to the special ed department and then they carry and make the wheels turn. But
Mhm.
I know a lot of people don't want their child to be labeled special ed, and
Mhm.
that is always a struggle, and that's could be a cultural thing. It could be, a US thing, it could be international thing, but
Right.
it's just a thing, like, how we
Right.
view ourselves. So
Well, oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I
Go
was gonna
ahead.
say with that, people can be, I don't want my child labeled, but that's the way you get the services. Like that's just what it is. Okay. You may not want them to be labeled. I mean, fine. You can do 504s. You can, get the IEP and through special education, but let's just be honest, this is what opens the door to services. But I do want to say this. Um, there's some parents who experience, well, I took my child to the IEP, to special ed. They said he didn't need anything, he didn't qualify for services. Okay. That doesn't mean there's something not correct. I mean, some school systems have these equations or whatever, what they do to who's going to, be able to get services. And I've come across, some educators when they're, looking at tests, they may say, oh, well, these are the scores, he's doing fine. That's not what you all want to look at. And please, if anybody has a question about this, please contact me. You can look at reading scores on a test and see that, especially those formal assessments that they're doing, during that special education process. You can look at these things and see, oh, the kids are average. What you want to do is look at the subtests, especially in reading, all those other tests. 'Cause some of those other tests will show that there are some weaknesses that could be making the whole house fall down. You know what I mean? So even
Right,
though together it shows, oh, they're average, they're operating in this average range. Well, if you then and look at the subtests, look at what the subtests are. The kid could be 10 or 12% in this area and 20% in this area, and this is what's crashing the whole thing. So while he may look average, there really isn't. He's not making any he or she isn't making any, I keep saying he, but he or she isn't making any progress
right.
because of these two or three things here in that reading cluster that's just killing it. So that is really, really important. Just like I said, you have to become informed. For one thing, you have to become informed. I mean, when you notice there's something going on, just find out. There's so many Facebook groups now. You can just kind of put the question
Mm,
in one of these groups and someone will answer. It doesn't, whatever group. I mean, there are plenty of groups there. So there's a lot of knowledge out there about dyslexia and reading problems. So if you feel like there's something going on, you feel like you hear, in your gut, you feel it, just go ahead
go
and
with
just
it.
ask the question. It's better just to be safe than to be, I guess, sorry. So,
Right.
yeah.
I totally agree. So now we're getting to this whole part of what makes you unique. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of examples because
Yeah.
just the main fact that
That's kinda
you are very fluent into this.
yeah.
I can see your passion into it,
Yeah,
how you want to help. But what do you
yeah,
think makes you almost like unique as an academic therapist or even a tutor? What
yeah.
makes you unique?
So, well, I mean, I'm sure every academic therapist, we kind of follow, and I don't just say the same thing, but we definitely, the way we practice. So, of course, there's assessment, right? You assess every kid. And I'm going to tell you, for me, I can really, I really teach children really, I can really teach, how to read. But also, man, these assessments, I love to do assessments because I don't know, I can just dig deep. I can see kids, like the raising of an eyebrow could be is a sign of struggle. I'm just saying for some kids it's like that. So I'm really good at that. Really good at establishing relationships, which is what we need to do with all of our students. What I find, like I say, my draw, where I really I don't know. And I don't know what that is. I don't know. It could be because I don't know, maybe I didn't really love school. So maybe I'm kind of, when kids say, yeah, I know what you mean, but I'm able to quickly establish a relationship with students. I really like the hard cases. I like the kids who they say, oh, he's never going to read. She's never going to read. You're nothing. Those are the kids that I love. Those are the kids that I want. I started my teaching career in the inner city. And I don't know, it's just where I landed. Not that I was looking for that. It's just where I landed and I loved it. And, uh, during my career, I've had the hard ones, the ones that they said they'll never amount to anything. And
Mhm.
so those are the kids that I don't know that I don't, they seem to find me even in my private practice. And so, I'm able to quickly establish a relationship with students like that. Being able to open their eyes to say, yes, you can do this. I have kids, reveal to me all kinds of secrets, things like, and that's what I love, So my academic therapy services, yes, it is academic. It is teaching how to read. It is helping, these students through the struggle. But it's also, you know, help setting them up on life's paths,
Mm.
and just so that for me is, I think, really what makes me unique because you kind of have to get in there. Like I know I could just be very stoic and just here are your letters. This is your sound. Yes, please read this. Make sure you mark this, code this vowel. I could do that,
Right.
but there's more to that. And you have to, as an academic therapist, you have to also deal with them on that social emotional, level.
Yes.
And so I guess,
It's
yeah.
more holistic.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you're all about the
exactly.
whole
The
kid.
whole bit, yes.
The whole
Yeah,
young man, the whole young woman, that
yes,
because they're all going through transitions.
exactly,
You're
exactly.
talking what we're starting in with elementary with the foundational piece, and we all
Exactly.
know from 3rd grade to 4th grade, there's a step.
Right.
From 6th to 7th, there's a step. From 8th to
Absolutely.
ninth, there's a step. And
Absolutely.
even from 12th to college, don't sleep on that, parents.
Oh, yeah,
That is
absolutely.
a step because
Yes.
they got to make those changes.
Exactly, and
So
yeah, and I have students like that, I've had to help them make the transition to college, and it could be, not only working, academic therapy, but academic therapy includes some other services like working with kids who have executive functioning weaknesses, so, I may teach a kid how to study. I may not know the topic, all the, but you can teach, a student how to study, how to keep notes and take notes or whatever it is, how to organize their notes that they take. That is not, I don't need to know all about zoology, to help a student do that.
Mhm,
So I also provide those services, but those are also services that, and an academic therapist would involve themselves in. And I do like that use that word holistic because that truly is what it is. Um, it's holistic. It really
mhm.
is. So
It's
mhm,
more than what you're gonna get in any
exactly,
kinda big
exactly.
name, even if you want, like, just a tutor, like, "Okay, I
Right.
just need someone that can help my child with this part,"
Mhm.
but just
And
having that whole big
yeah,
part.
and that really is essentially kind of what it is, tutoring, tutoring. It's like, okay, let's help with them because in academic therapist, I'm me, someone that I'm not going to follow along with someone in school. I won't. I mean, not just because I won't, because I don't want to, because that's not what academic therapists get to the root of the issue. That's the part that we address. So while your kid may be in 8th grade and they're falling behind on language arts, what I need to do is teach your kid how to read. So I'm not going to start at 8th grade teaching them how to read. That's not because he didn't get the first and second grade stuff. So we academic therapists target, the actual issue. What is the problem? And that's where we go in and do our work. Yeah,
Okay.
so I will,
Awesome.
it will never be what, is actually happening in the classroom. At least, sometimes I will work with my kids sometimes on some stuff, but most of the time it is that the root of the issue.
Excellent. All right. So, speaking of which, any upcoming events? Like, do you have availabilities for tutoring? Do you have like what are we talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have actually 4 slots, 4 more slots,
Okay.
but that's it.
Okay. Okay.
I do provide my services online. And so I am now in the Richmond, Virginia area though. So I may I may or may not decide to do a few in-person clients, which would be cool. But I do have, 4 slots. I will, and I'll let people know. I will be doing some make and take classes where parents can come. They can create some learning materials for their children at home.
Mhm.
And we'll make them together. I'll tell you how to use them, what they're used for, why we do these things. And you can go take them home and use them with your children. Yeah. So, but I'll have that up on my Facebook page. So that's just,
Okay.
letting folks know
Just a
what's
little
going to be
taste.
happening. So just a little tidbit.
Oh, that's awesome. So speaking of, so if you guys want to get in touch with Miss Lavanda Roundtree, we got her Facebook, which is Educational Support Services. And if you want to take it even further, really want to reach her, go ahead and reach her out on her email address, which is lroundtree at esscanhelp.com. So again, that's lroundtree at esscanhelp.com. So, any type of services, questions, want to get more information, like make sure you're on the email list. So, when she does have these events, that you can definitely reach out to her and then she can put you on her listing and you can get all the stuff. Not just only for parents that are, we know single parents, we get it. We understand. Homeschool parents, we're
Yeah.
here. You probably didn't know how
Yes.
deep that your child needed assistance. Even teachers, why
Yes.
not add
Absolutely.
some resources to your arsenal? Like,
Absolutely.
we're talking about our future here. We see
Yes.
how much divide is happening in today's society. So we need for our kids to be able to get those opportunities so they can reach and grasp what they need in order to progress to become independent learners. That's the whole point why we're doing all this.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
and this is great. I'm going to put my little plug in there. So, if you are a math tutor that's watching the replay or here that's on live and you're looking for a nice place to go to that can give you additional resources to, better on your skill work and your tutoring business, you can join my Facebook group, which is From the Classroom to Online Tutoring. And then stay tuned for Wednesday, because I had to think for a second, because this week has been all about interviews. So Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have an awesome tutor, Miss Michelle Tobe, if I have to say it correctly, from Ontario, Canada. So we're just going to sit and talk about her tutoring business, the online math teacher. So she has been a math teacher making that transitioning to tutoring. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how she can better help her students as well. So, Lavanda, thank you so much
Oh my gosh,
for
thank
being
you.
here, blessing us with so many gems, so many things to think about. Let me double check on some comments. Love people like that's right. She loves it. A lot of people that's here, they're loving it. I'm loving it. So
Oh,
hey, this is
cool.
great.
Yay.
Uh so again, this is Two Tutors Talking. Thank you so much, guys, for stepping in. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. But also, if you're around early tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., I'm going to do my Ask Audrey, which we're going to talk about the PSAT, because there's a lot of people that are starting to take the PSATs, and some of the reasons why our kids are really not ready.
Wow.
So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.